Okay, give it 10 more seconds. Okay. So I'm going to tick through a few of them, but I'm going to share on my screen. And now, just a random 6, as I said. And so I'd put up there the RSA is proactive, dynamic visual obstruction, bicycle-friendly grates, a very specific one there, isn't it? Pedestrian design lines, sharrows, and there was another one, and the severity of injury, so those safe system energy tolerance. Let's see what we got, and anybody who matched up with one of those. So we had some discussion there at safety at work sites. So Tony Bull gave us some good information on that. A question around why does New South Wales not provide recommended treatments, but all the other states do? What a great question. And I'm going to come back to, well, I'm just wondering whether I come back to that or I answer it now. I'm going to come back to it because it kind of links with legal liability, which is what I want to talk about. Alison's mentioned the fatality graphs, which is that severity of injury stuff. So that is a prize. But then a nice comment or an interesting comment around the reporting of the 30km/h speed zoning in New South Wales and some of that, but not sort of linking it back to human tolerance to physical force in pedestrian crashes and the like, which I agree, I think it's a logical way to look at things. Now, of course, speed limits and operating speeds and the like, you need to be conscious of that. But I think in general, it's good. Kerry's done a wonderful job there of summing up that it's not a design review. Designs can be compliant with standards, but still be presenting a safety risk. And I think that's really an amazingly important takeaway there. The vulnerability of motorcyclists from Joshua there about that 20 to 30 times more likely to be killed. Jason on dynamic visual obstruction, it's on the list. As I say, I could really be giving prizes to everybody here because these are all great comments. I just randomly picked 6. So Jason, the structure of an audit finding, and that one I'm glad sort of that has been pointed out there. I think it's really helpful if you stick to that structure as you're getting experience as an auditor. Down the track, you might tweak it and change things, but at the moment, it sort of just really simplifies how we're presenting that information. Some stuff on the actual way the course has been run. That's good. Yes, so Duncan's on that reporting as well. Yeah, Alison's got a good point in there around that the road safety audit is it's an advice piece, really. It doesn't hold legislative power. It's got no, the project manager's decisions in the end are what they want them to be. Risk rating, night auditing. The safe system approach incorporated into road safety audits, and we're getting better at that. I mean, that focus on energy and the tolerance thinking and the like. So we're getting a bit better there. Oh, Max has made a very thought-provoking one there. Delineating between bad road design and bad road safety design. Wow. It's going to get me thinking for a while. So I suppose, and the last one here about, crashes not needing to be considered initially when undertaking audit. So it's not that crash investigation, black spot treatment. So I'll give a prize there because it's sort of linked with the first one, the proactive. Black spot is reactive. But I've got a username there, so I'll have to work out who that is. I'll work that out later. Well, thank you for popping those in there. And that makes me really happy and confident that you've taken away key messages. There's wonderful comments in there, exactly the kind of things we want to see. And yeah, I'm confident this group's thinking along the right lines. We will have our usual short break, sort of maybe 45 minutes in, and this is a shorter session, as I mentioned, but we'll take on any comments and go down any avenues that you're interested in. So feel free to pop them in the chat. Now, the question came in around why has New South Wales not, why don't they want recommendations? Well, they are the only jurisdiction that doesn't, or that refuses or doesn't let their auditors provide recommendation. They just say, you just find the issues, let us work out what we're going to do to resolve it. And the thought behind it was that they would lessen their legal liability in the sense that if a road safety auditor was to come along and say, you know, here's the issue, and this is what we recommend, if they don't do that, that they're worried that they might, you know, hold some more legal liability. So if the auditor says, you know, this intersection, you know, consider reverse curve, you know, reverse curves on the approach to this roundabout to slow vehicles on the approach or something like that, and they can't do it, or they don't do it because of, you know, native vegetation or cost or, you know, other reasons, that at some point down the track, if somebody goes into the roundabout too fast or something, and there's an injury, that they might come back and say, well, hang on, the auditor said do these speed calming treatments on the approach to the roundabout and you didn't do it. And then, you know, they're worried about the legal liability. So the way that they say is, well, you can tell us that you're worried about the speed of vehicles approaching this roundabout, and then we'll decide, you know, do we do reverse curves? Do we do a regulatory speed limit reduction on the approach? Do we do some warning signs? Do we do whatever it is? Now, I don't know. I mean, I'm not a legal expert. I don't know how that would go, but it's very clear in the Austroads guide that, you know, the recommendations from a road safety auditor don't hold, you know, any power. They're suggestions, and that road authorities have many constraints in terms of dollars and environmental cultural heritage challenges and political and community acceptance of different things, so that they are going to have to, you know, adapt. And so in the rest of Australia and New Zealand, it's not really played out as an issue in that sense, that if a project manager has elected not to do something, but explained why they're doing something else, that's always been seen as fine. If they just ignore the issue, so if it says, you know, we'll use that example, we'll continue that example. If they say, you know, the auditors are concerned about high approach speeds on the approach to this roundabout, and that recommend a reverse curves on the approach, and the project manager just says, you know, no, don't accept, and don't do anything. I mean, that's not good. That's not good practice, and that would probably be frowned upon. But if you said, you know, agree with this is an issue, you know, can't do reverse curves for these reasons, however, we're going to do these measures to achieve the same outcome, I think that that's absolutely fine. And then the flip side of it is why New South Wales is very interested in including recommendations, is that road safety auditors are generally in a very good position to inject ideas to designers and project managers on ways to reduce the risk. I mean, that's kind of what we do and what we're focused on and what we think about. So those ideas can be very helpful. So my understanding is New South Wales is moving towards reinstating recommendations as part of their audits at some point. Good question though, and please, those are exactly the kind of questions I'm interested in people asking, or specific topics around road safety, or auditing, or the audits you're currently doing. So this session, in terms of the content I want to cover, we're going to talk about the administration of road safety auditing, and I'll talk across, well, I should include New South Wales in this, because we certainly, I'm just going to try and get my pen going. We certainly now do talk about New South Wales and their registration system. So I want to talk to you about the different requirements of different jurisdictions for road safety auditor accreditation, or what else is it termed? Pre-qualification. It would be termed in South Australia, but accreditation is generally what it's called. So if you've got particular questions about your jurisdiction and how to get accredited and the like, I'm happy to answer those. I will cover off some of them in a bit of detail, but more than happy to answer questions associated with that. There's current Austroads work going on about trying to look at harmonization of all of that, but I'll tell you the current state of play. Understand the process of registering in Victoria and South Australia, very sort of easy ones. I'll also add Queensland to that, and New South Wales now. So I probably can put plus more there. And I'm going to talk about legal liability risks for both road safety auditors and those engaging road safety auditors. And I think I'll start with that. So I'm going to give you some points about legal liability and the like, but I do disclaim that, as I did before, with saying I'm not a lawyer, and that if you, you're doing these sorts of things, or you're concerned about anything, get yourself some legal advice. But what I'll talk to is like experience I've had during my time managing road safety audits in a road authority for the state. So it was in Victoria, and some of the legal cases we were involved in there, some of the expert witness stuff I've been doing in private industry, where road safety audits have been part of it, and sort of giving you some insights from that. Also, a lot of the Austroads work and the thinking that we've been doing in the updates to the Austroads Guide to Road Safety Part 6, and getting sort of better clarity around what sort of legal liability may be held by auditors or others. So I really can do this quite, I only have 2 slides on it, but I'll talk to them, and I will take questions on this. But I'm going to start with possible issues for the auditors. You're going to come out of this course, you're going to get a certificate of successful completion once you get through all the hurdles we've put there with the assignment and finalizing your quizzes, and you will be you'll have a road safety audit certificate, and then you'll be able to register as to become an accredited road safety auditor from the different jurisdictions. Right. And then, the question is, what sort of legal liability might you hold in different situations and the like. So some possible issues that could have legal ramifications. The first one is what is generally in the industry termed a client-focused road safety audit. And it is very hard to prove, but the general concept is there's a big hardware chain, and it's opening up 100 new warehouses in Australia, and they're accessing onto the public road network, and the road authorities are saying, as part of their planning permit requirements, that they have to undertake a road safety audit and engage a accredited road safety auditor to undertake that. And so they go off, and their traffic engineers and come up with a design, and then they engage an auditor, and that auditor goes and does their work. But maybe during that process, they say, oh, listen, we don't want to spend any money. We don't on anything different here. Let's not find any big issues. Happy to do some signs and lines, but don't make us do any big civil works or anything like that. And and if you're entertaining that idea of compromising the integrity of a road safety audit for those sort of things, and you can imagine that, oh, we've got another 50 of these coming up, so we make our life easy, and you get the idea. So any inkling of that sort of stuff would be, of course, a potential issue. So inadequate brief there, I mean, you're not writing the brief, but you're receiving the brief. And if you're not given the information you need to be able to do your job, and you don't ask for it or the like, that could be bad. Now, I've never really seen this play out, but the sort of fears there, and you can go very extreme examples to illustrate the point, which would be like, we would like you to do a detailed design stage road safety audit of this roundabout, and they hand you over a very early concept of the roundabout, and you say, well, I can do a preliminary design or a concept design road safety audit with the information you've given me, but if you want me to do the detailed design, I'm going to need the pavement plans, the drainage plans, the lighting plans, it's not a detailed design audit. Now, they may have a requirement to do a detailed design audit. So that's your sort of scenario that we're thinking of there. Of course, in anything, misleading your qualifications or experience can have legal ramifications, but specifically in road safety auditing, to say that you are an accredited senior road safety auditor or the like, when you don't exist on a list as a accredited senior auditor, or that you've got X number of years experience, which you don't, that would be an issue. Then I suppose not following correct process. Now, I've put there day and nighttime audit in site inspection, and there is the possibility that your client asks you not to do a nighttime inspection, and then, I mean, you're not going to be held legally accountable if you've been told not to do it. You may suggest, actually, we think a nighttime would be beneficial, but they may say, no, we don't want you to go out there at night. Now, why would they do that? Well, most of the time they're trying to save money on the audit. And I always sort of say to them, it's not going to really add any more cost to the audit, because practically as an audit team, you tend to go out there usually in the afternoon, and well, my common practice with audit teams is afternoon audit, try and get the end of school time if you can, and then go to a restaurant or McDonald's or somewhere and sit and start writing up the findings and things like that and discussing it. It gets dark, and then you go and you relook at it, and the nighttime inspection is usually shorter, and you're just picking up anything else. You may then go back at specific times if there's if you go, actually, we want to see this in morning, school drop off, or we want to, see it when, I don't know, the shopping center's open, or, whatever particular it is, but, that's general process. So adding the nighttime doesn't really affect it. But that being said, all I'm saying here is that if your client sort of stated that, and you put it into the report, that you're not going to be held liable. If you don't visit the site at all, I mean, certainly that, if you've just been asked to do a road safety audit, I mean, visiting the site is part of it. If it was absolutely specified in the brief that you were not going to the site, this is a desktop road safety audit exercise. Previously, I would have said that it's not a road safety audit, but the most recent release of the Austroads Guide has said that for early stage, feasibility stage road safety audits, there is a possibility to do it as a desktop exercise. Now, why is that? Well, practically, I mean, quite a number of us have been sort of standing in paddocks and, at night for a new road alignment that we're going, wow, and this is an early stage. Certainly once you're into when you've got a bit of meat on the design and you're looking at the interface with the existing road network, how it ties in and these sorts of things, yeah, you want to be on site. But for that early one and that, it was said, okay, perhaps you don't need to go to site for that. And then, it's just general quality management system processes in your organization and the like. And then the courts will hold auditors to what they call a reasonable assessment. And this is one that just plays out, what is reasonable. And they will argue, it's what peers would identify and find and the like. Now, yeah, I can't give too much more advice on that. So there's sort of some key ones, I suppose, auditors would be interesting. Of course, most jurisdictions will require you to have public liability and professional indemnity insurance as a road safety auditor. I think that's, good practice, but they'll require that for most work that you do. Looks like somebody's lost sound. Hopefully everybody else can still hear me. I'll keep going, but if not, I'm sure you'll type in. Oh, there we go, thumbs up. You can hear me. So possible issues with audits from the customer perspective. I think customer, often road authority, but it can be others. So the procurer of that audit, the person getting the audit report done and getting the audit undertaken. So intentionally providing an inadequate brief. So holding back information that can help an auditor identify issues. So maybe there's something that this person knows that they don't want brought up because it's going to cause all sorts of headaches. And if they don't sort of provide the information that can be identified, that could be an issue. Requesting recommendations, or I suppose requesting recommendations be removed is, again, a bit of a no-no. That just erodes the independence of the audit, doesn't it? Let the audit team do their job and then you deal with what comes out of that. And yes, sometimes it causes challenges in a project, but that's, you got to work through those. We've got to remember what the aim is here, to minimize and ideally eliminate death and serious injury as a result of this project. If it causes us a little bit of a project challenge, so be it. Then it's about, what do you do when you get that audit report? Well, you have to actually work through all those findings and do something or note something. Say, well, either going to accept this and we're going to do something about it, or we're going to reject it. We say we disagree with this for these reasons, and that's absolutely fine. And the other one is like sort of to say, listen, we agree with it, but we can't do anything about that at this stage. So we're going to defer that to another program, a business case we're working on, or whatever it is. So that's, I suppose, acceptable in the process as well. And within that, I suppose the means of prioritization. This is where the courts are completely understanding of lack of funding and resources for road authorities. They know that there is just not unlimited funds out there. What they are not accepting of is just ad hoc addressing of issues. So what they want to see is prioritization. Now, road safety audits help you in that sense because they put risk ratings, but it's also a little bit about, as I talked about earlier in the course, the existing conditions road safety audit that just brings in thousands and thousands of issues. If you just go out and do road safety audits of your whole network, it's just going to bring in just tons of issues. If you ever go down that approach, you really have to have a good system for prioritizing, working out essentially benefit costs of doing rectification works and the like. And then again, a reasonable process. And from a road authority end, I would talk also about reasonable process in terms of road safety audit policy. What do I mean by that? Well, I mean by that, if you're a local government, for example, or potentially a state road authority, but I'll go with local government because I see this a lot more with local governments, is that it is very ad hoc as to when they get road safety audits undertaken. So you'll have two, I'm using roundabouts as my example this morning, but you've got two roundabouts being planned and designed in two different locations. They're generally about the same, got the same types of road generally. They're just two different ones. You got one project manager managing this one, and you got one project manager managing this one, and one project manager maybe has heard of road safety audits or has done the course or the like, and they get road safety audits undertaken on their roundabout, and the other project manager doesn't, just pushes it through, gets it done, and then we have, two roundabouts, and if there was an incident, and people might say, well, hang on, let's look back at the documentation here. Why were road safety audits not done on that one, but they were done on this other one? And so you need to be in a position to have a consistent time that road safety audits would happen. And the easiest way to do that is some sort of policy around decision-making around when road safety audits would be undertaken. And to help out with that, we wrote a template road safety audit policy and put it into the back of the Austrade's Guide, part 6, so that a local government can sort of pick that up, and it's a very easy starting point for them. Most jurisdictions just do it on like $1 trigger. So the total estimated cost of a project may trigger the requirement for one road safety audit, maybe at design stage, and then a bigger project will have, okay, you need 3 road safety audits, at least one at design stage, or and then, much bigger projects get road safety audits at all stages. So that's usually how it's done. Some jurisdictions going down to risk-based decision-making because they say, well, we might be doing $20 million worth of shoulder sealing in this environment, but, we don't see why we need to do a feasibility road safety audit and then a preliminary concept stage audit, and then a detailed design audit, and then a post-opening audit, because there's not that much complexity in this. Yeah, sure, we think a road safety audit is a good idea, but just the one. So they're saying it's a low risk job. So that's a bit of sort of how risk-based decision for audits would be, when audits would be undertaken. Now, most state jurisdictions have policies available that say when they will and won't do road safety audits. So there's generally consistency at that state level. It's just a lot of local governments a bit ad hoc, and I think that's a legal risk for a local government. Pop in any questions you've got on that. Otherwise, I'm going to jump on to a little bit around the accreditation and the like. So I'll spend a little bit of time on that, and then we'll take our break. So in the learning management system, what I've done is put a table like this, and it's got all the jurisdictions and what the current requirements are to become a road safety auditor or a senior road safety auditor, or for New South Wales, a level 1 or 2 or 3 road safety auditor. So successful completion of this course gives you the ability to register as a road safety auditor, accredited road safety auditor in Queensland, New South Wales, Victoria, South Australia, where they'll call it a pre-qualified road safety auditor. Tasmania does not have a register. They say, well, they use the Victorian register, and then lots of Tasmanians jump onto that. And Northern Territory says, we'll take anybody's register. That's fine if you're just on some register. And New Zealand simply says, we don't have a register. You just need to, before you engage a road safety auditor, you need to be sure that they've got appropriate qualifications and skills. How do they do that? Well, they usually ask that you've done, in the engagement of an auditor, that you've done a road safety audit course and you've got some experience. So it's a bit I suppose, relaxed from that sense. So within that, you can see there, I've got 3 up here, that they've got this road safety auditor and senior road safety auditor. And I'll take you through the difference on those. But they have some requirements for some experience in these different categories and some years of experience, and then some road safety audit experience specifically in doing audits. And then some of them have this maintenance requirement, which means you need to be active. So, and I think a question's sort of come in, and I'll get to that in a second. So let's talk about what we've got here. We've got a road safety auditor and a senior road safety auditor in most jurisdictions. Now, we could swap Cameron and David here because it's not about age, it's about sort of the experience you've had in your career and in terms of the number of audits you've done and the like. But what do you need to do to become a road safety auditor? I'm predominantly talking about the Victorian register to start here, but I'll fill in the gaps for others. So to become a road safety auditor, you need to complete an approved course. So this course or an equivalent course. And you need some experience in road safety engineering, road design, traffic management, or road user behavior. Now, I'll tell you now, you are all going to meet that requirement, okay? It's just sort of, you can be very entry level and you can not have a lot of length of experience, but it just wants people that are in this sort of general industry, okay? So to become a senior road safety auditor, you need to have done a approved course. You need 5 years experience in one of these fields or multiple ones of these fields. And you need to undertake 5 road safety audits with a senior road safety auditor leading the audit. And that's sort of this continuing ongoing mentoring and learning and getting your head around those sorts of things. So they're the sort of Victorian requirements, and very similar in other jurisdictions with some slight tweaks on it. So Max has asked a question here: minimum professional experience from when you first started work for an engineering company, or from when you got your road safety audit accreditation? Great question. It's from when you started professional work. So what we often have is, say, a very experienced designer or traffic engineer or traffic management person come along to this course. They successfully complete the course. They have met their requirements then for this course. They have the 5 years already, okay? And they just need to then go and do 5 road safety audits with somebody who is an experienced auditor. Of those audits, 3 need to be at design stage. So you can't just do all existing conditions or all traffic management. You've got to actually do some design, because we don't differentiate in road safety audit. Like, we don't say you are a road safety auditor of traffic management schemes, or you are a road safety auditor of detailed design. I mean, you are a road safety auditor. In theory, you should be able to do all of that. Now, of course, you will use your own judgment to ensure that you're part of a team with people with varied skills and knowledge in these specific areas. If you're going down that track, if that's not you, but it's not sort of stated in any road authority's register or anything like that. There are some indicators on skills and the like, actually I'll tell you shortly, yeah, they want you to do 3 design stage ones just to show that you've got that ability to look at a design and identify risk. Are there any requirements to maintain senior road safety audit? Yes, so jurisdiction by jurisdiction there are. And if I'm talking to Victoria at the moment, you have to do 1 road safety audit per year at least. So, and you have to sort of log that in the system to retain that status. The other jurisdictions have a few other maintenance required. So I'll jump back actually, because it's a good question. I've got a couple of don't recount that, Wally. Sorry, same Wally as before. I've gone back. So 1 audit per year for Victoria, 1 audit per year for Queensland, although they want you to do 1 audit if you're just a road safety auditor as well. Actually, I believe that they've just increased this. There's a note that they've literally, like earlier this week, released, I think, to say 3. I have to have a look at that. So you need to just check on the TMR website exactly on what that is. And then, yeah, South Australia's 1 audit per year. Okay, so for Victoria, what you're going to do is when you get your certificate, you're going to go to this website, vrsa.com.au. And so victorianroadsafetyauditors.com.au. And it is a website that simply houses the list of accredited road safety auditors. So this is what it looks like. And it's managed by ARB, and I actually set this up about 15 years ago. And yes, I got in lots of trouble for setting up a VicRoads website off the VicRoads government system, but it's lasted the test of time, and I wasn't going to go through that process of trying to get it into that. This took a week to set up, and off we went. And anyway, the first thing that you see in this is a disclaimer, which says there's a big list of road safety auditors in here, and we can't guarantee any are any good. All we can guarantee is that they have done the course, and they've shown us that they've got these years of experience and met these, entry requirements. We've not judged them specifically on their quality of auditing, and, buyer beware. So you agree and you continue that. And then what you're faced with is a fairly simple website, which you will then, as a first thing, you'll go to register for accreditation, and it'll give you a page there, and you'll register for road safety auditor accreditation. So the second one is if you'd wanted to, register for senior, which, I mean, in theory, I suppose if you've been doing audits in another jurisdiction and you just want to get on the Victorian one as a senior, you'd do that. Maybe you're doing this course as a refresher, and you'll jump along there, and then you put in your information. Now, we made sure that back in the day, you could hide details from the public if you don't want people to see your email address or your phone number or the like. So there's always the checkbox ability to hide details. So you fill all of that out, and then you upload your certificate with that, and off you go. So within that, then once you're on there, you're able to log in, upload information about audits you've done, and it'll auto email you every year. You've to say you've got to upload an audit if you're a senior to maintain status. I'll just go in here, but what the public can see on this as well is the ability to search for an auditor. There's a few links to some other stuff, different pre-qualification. That's companies. Companies are pre-qualified. It's the individuals in this, the accreditation, individuals. So you will hold your accreditation regardless if you change companies or whatever it is. It's you as an individual. So you can search for auditors. You can search by name, by organization. Now, you can search by required sort of expertise. Now, take this with a grain of salt because it's self-populated. Okay, so if you want somebody who can do, detailed design bike facilities specifically, you tick that, and you see what comes up. As I say, just be aware of that. And then we get a big list, and it's a decent sized list. Victoria's just put in a little requirement around a little online tests around sort of safe system knowledge, which has culled the list down significantly because there's a lot of people on there who are very inactive and don't really do audits, and they haven't gone through this process, or people maybe completely left the industry or these sorts of things, but that's okay. So we've narrowed it down. You get the big list and you can see their organization and email address and the like. And I'll just click on myself down here just to show you what you'd see if you clicked on somebody. You'd see, status being active. Now that's if they haven't uploaded an audit in the last year, or maybe they just submitted it. It might say pending because they're still just reviewing the information. Senior road safety auditor, some contact details. You put in a little bit of your relevant professional experience, which is where to prove that you are in the industry, and that bit about experience. And then the expertise, you can see what they say. Now, I've been doing audits quite a long time. I've done a lot of them across many different ones. I still refuse to pick any of the worksite traffic management plan because I just don't feel it's an area that I have expertise in. Now we put this other in just in case there was something else that I've never known exactly what we were thinking back in the day. We thought something else might come up, autonomous vehicle audits or something like that. Regions you can work in, that's a Victorian one. It's just like if somebody only wanted to work in Gippsland and not leave there, they could do that. And then in terms of what the public see about your sort of audit history, they just simply see this sort of stuff. Where was the audit? What was your title? When did it happen? Who was the client? And what was it? Feasibility stage, bicycle path. What was that? Where was that? Phillip Island. Oh, that was the Anderson to San Remo bike shared path facility. So that's all they see. Behind that, there is contact details of a referee for that audit. So you need your client, you need to put the information. They don't actually get you to upload the audit, but if they needed to check something, audit the auditors, I suppose, they would then contact clients. And an upload of the certificate from the course. So via rsa.com.au, it's a very easy one to get into. And if you're not from Victoria, you're still welcome to get onto this register. It's free. You don't have to pay anything to get on the register. You will have a small test requirement that will come along at some point. Everything in that you'll be very good at because it's exactly what I've been taking you through and you've been practicing in terms of just including thinking about safe system energy and the like. So you won't have any issues there, but I encourage you to get onto that one. Questions come in from time to time. Sometimes you experience dry years, work, especially consulting. Yep, I might not be able to obtain opportunity to do a road safety audit every year. What are some suggestions to remain active? So it's a good question, and not only I suppose that I get a lot of questions around. You said that I have to do 5 road safety audits to become a senior road safety auditor under the guidance of a senior road safety auditor. Well, if you work at a local government or you work in a very small consultancy or the like, you might say, well, I don't have access to this senior road safety auditor to work with. And that can be a little bit of a challenge. But what I will say is that there's a lot of opportunity to find senior road safety auditors that are willing to have people along as part of audit teams. We certainly do that a fair bit and take people along for their continued learning opportunity. So if a road safety audit appears, we'll add a few people who have completed the course. If they show an interest, if people have shown an interest to us, take them along. I know there's a lot of road safety auditors who are willing to do that. I know that, like, if you're a local government employee, for example, or even a state road authority example, if you know that another group is getting a road safety audit done, you could put in that and say, well, we also would like to have one of our people who is independent from the project. They've not been involved in the design and the project management, be part of the audit team for their continuing experience. Most road safety audit or most consultancies that do road safety audit, or individuals who form teams are more than willing to have that take place. If you're a single person consultant out there trying to get involved in this, it's worth going through these registers, seeing if you can find people that you know, trying to link up with them. You might have to just volunteer a bit of your time to start or the like, and build up some experience. So it can be a little hard. And that sort of goes the same there for that question Jason's popped in, is that you might need to be a bit proactive in contacting people, trying to get that to happen. But let me also say that the register in Victoria, at least, what it will do is if you got yourself up to senior status and then you didn't do an audit, what it would do is it would drop you to auditor status. But then all you would have to do is just one audit and it would put you back up because you've got the history of auditing, if that makes sense. So it's not as bad as it sounds. You wouldn't be like kicked off the register. And the road safety auditor accreditation currently lasts for a lifetime. So you in Victoria, you don't have any requirements to do any audits. You can get yourself on there and you're on there. Now, periodically they might come with a little like continuing professional development requirement, like they're doing with this little e-learning module, but generally you're sort of on there for good. South Australia, as I mentioned, they talk about a pre-qualified road safety auditor. It's the individual they call it. It's very confusing because in Victoria, and in fact in most other jurisdictions, when we hear pre-qualified, we think about the company, right? The company is pre-qualified because they've got the right insurances, they've got the right quality management system, they've got all of that. In South Australia, they talk about the individual as pre-qualified to undertake this activity. So you just go through the form and submit that for I was going to say DIPTI, but they're DIT now, aren't they? Department of Infrastructure and Transport. And they have a list there. This one, though, is Queensland and very similar to the Victorian one, although you don't get that extra detail, but you certainly, they've got their road safety auditors, and then if you scroll down, it goes to senior auditors, and you fill out a Word form and email it in, and then they review and add you to the list. So again, this course will meet that requirement. Did I put in? Oh, sorry, this is back to South Australia. I remember I put this in because they've got a PDF, but I wanted to just point out that heavy vehicle route assessors are a different beast. Heavy vehicle route assessors. They also have a register of safe system assessors as well, pre-qualified safe system assessors, and as Victoria does, a list of recommended safe system assessors, and that's another list you could get on with a different course and different stuff. But I always recommend vrsa.com.au as a first step, and then jumping onto some of those other ones. Now you can see why Austroads is looking at harmonising all of this, trying to say, well, why do you have to register yourself in Queensland and New South Wales and Victoria and all of these? Can't we just have a centralised Australian register, or even an Australian New Zealand register and the like? So they're working on that. It's very, as you'd imagine, very parochial and very challenging to get everybody on the same page. What I'll do is in the break, I'll quickly bring up the New South Wales one just to show you that as well. But at this point, what I'm going to do is stop sharing, and we're going to take our 5-minute coffee break, and we'll finish off the course. But in that time, pop in any questions you got, and we'll deal with them. So 5 minutes, and then we'll get back into it. Okay, so a question's come in there from Duncan. So Duncan's obviously had a look at the Department of Infrastructure and Transport's website in South Australia there, and noticed that it only seems to be for senior road safety auditors, and that's a really good good pickup there. So they only publish the senior ones. They tell me that they have a list of road safety auditors as well. So I suggest you email the contact on there and ask. But how would that work for Northern Territory? And as I said, Northern Territory is a good one because they will accept anybody's. So yes, you could just jump on and register with the Victorian one or the Queensland one, and that's all very acceptable. Or New South Wales for that matter. So I also said I'd show you the New South Wales one. So hopefully you're seeing my screen there. So this one is roadsafetyregister.com.au, and this is Transport for New South Wales one, and it's very similar to that the Victorian one as well. Search for an auditor, and you can search by name, organisation. So they have level 1, 2, or 3, the lead auditor. So let's have a look. I put myself in there. Okay. Has it logged me in? It might have logged me in. Anyway, oh yeah. Sorry. Gonna see what the public would see. It keeps logging me in. Okay, let's forget about that. But you can search for auditors. You can upload audits. And these ones, they actually require you to upload a road safety audit, and it's reviewed by a panel. So it's a more rigorous one than any other jurisdiction except Western Australia, where the panel reviews it and provides feedback. You upload your actual road safety audits. So all other jurisdictions just want to know that you did audits and where it was and the like. This one's more rigorous. Western Australia has a completely sort of different model going on. They don't accept anybody else's course except for the one Western Australian course, which is not live online. It's a sort of recorded. I did it. It took about 20 something hours of. It's one of those ones you couldn't jump ahead in the slides, so you've got to listen to the talk and go to the next one and the next one, and then you get to a little quiz after each of the modules, and if you get it wrong, they put you back to the start of it. And so yeah, anyway, I mean, it's got good information in there and the like. I wasn't a fan of that format, but that's what they went with. And then in Western Australia, once you complete that successfully, you go and you get appointed a mentor, and then you've got to work with that mentor, and then you've got to do some other specific courses around crash investigation and some other stuff. So it's a really big process. It's good, I mean, in terms of the amount of information rigor, but it's just so, I suppose, consuming that there's not many auditors that go through the entire process, which always worries me about. We want audits to be done on lots of projects. We don't want it to be, super hard to find an auditor to get the time, or we don't want it to be, outrageously expensive because there's only, a whole small handful of auditors. And so, you want a good pool of auditors in the industry being able to get out there and inject that safety in. Any other questions around accreditation and the like? What I'm going to do is I just do have a couple of little extra content things I want to cover there. Just a few final little examples, and I've popped them up for one reason or another. And I'll only spend maybe 15 minutes on this, and then I'll show you how to complete the course and maybe give you a little bit of time at the end to get back into the audit that you've got to submit. So I'll just share my screen again. Of course, pop any final questions you got for the course into the chat, and I'll jump onto those. I suppose I wanted to use this as an example this is a road safety audit I was doing with a colleague, and it was a bit of an interesting one. I think it's worth explaining for a number of reasons. It was a post-opening road safety audit. So that's the one, when something's been built and they've just sort of opened it to live to traffic, and then a road safety audit is undertaken. So my colleague and I are asked to get out to this one in the west of the state, and out we went. And this is the approach. So the scenario is behind us is about 10 kilometers of road that's 80 kilometers per hour, and you're traveling along here, and you can see there, what do we got? We've got repeater 80 signs. We've got a barrier line there. And let's go a little bit further forward. A little bit further forward. Don't worry about that car out there. That's our car. We parked out of the way. One of our cars. So this is a little bit further forward. So you can see now we've got an overtaking opportunity. Maybe you've been behind a truck for a long time that's going slow or something, or whatever it was. The overtaking opportunity, okay, and then there's something way off in the distance, and let's go a little bit further forward. Okay, we're going, yep, okay, yep, overtaking, some speed signs a bit blocked, maybe another 80, is it? Something else is going on. You go a bit further forward, you go, okay, it's a 60, maybe coming up to a township, and, okay, something else is happening here. Let's go a little bit further forward. Okay, traffic hazard ahead. Oh, okay. Let's go a little bit further forward and see what's going on there. Okay. So that's the island, and it looks like it's getting struck quite a bit. So that's interesting. So my colleague and I sort of scratched our head and pondered and looked at this for a while to try and work out what's going on here. Anyway, we actually worked out some issues. Came back at night, of course, just because we should. That's how it looked. There's no street lighting, correct? Well, Gary's popped that in. There is actually a street light there. If I go back, sorry, if I go forward, where am I going? There we go. There's a street light there. It just wasn't active, but we also identified that there's something weird about this, something weird going on here. And that's a very sharp horizontal sort of movement, a lateral shift there. That's quite sharp, which is a bit weird. And this is not, something's wrong here. You shouldn't be able to overtake on the approach to something like this. And Gary's sort of seeing it, and it looks like Jason is on to what seems to have happened here. So the story goes that the developer, and it is a developer, so out here is a big subdivision, and they were required to do this right turn treatment. They were also required to do a road safety audit, and they decided the road safety audit would be done after. I'm not fully understanding, this is my understanding, not fully understanding what a road safety audit sort of is, and thinking it might be just a check at the end, did you construct it right, and pavement right, and those sort of things. But yeah, I mean, Allison's picked it exactly. They didn't want to widen out here. They didn't want to widen out here. It's going to be more expensive. And it just appears that they flipped the right turn facility in the design to fit it in. So if we look at like how it should look, it's more like this, where the approach from the direction out here should get a fairly much straight run through. And that lateral deflection is a bit on the other side. And certainly your line marking is meant to be the other way. So I kind of feel that they just flipped everything there. And that's a pretty serious issue. This is one where I did use intolerable risk, and I didn't, we didn't go back and spend a week or so writing up a good report, or, a few days writing up a good report and the like. We did do that, but we sort of called the road authority of the client and said, yeah, you've got to get out here and do something more substantial to lessen this risk immediately. So why do I show that? Well, I show that for a couple of reasons here. I mean, the auditing at the design stage would have picked this up. And we could have got ourselves in a position where it was rectified before that. So we don't want to go down that track. The second one is, yes, that we need to be aware that people's objectives are often not associated with having safe, good, best practice in road design and access and the like. Their objective is to get their approval as cheaply and quickly as they possibly can. And so we do see a variety of things, and these can slip through. And we're another filter in trying to stop this sort of stuff happening. So there you go. Yeah, and it's live example. I've got some other examples of stuff kind of like this. I won't go into too many of them. Just a couple of other little points I wanted to bring up. There's little bits and pieces which you might note, and you can risk rate them accordingly, like this one, which is a little sort of, this one's not too bad. I mean, the sign's wrong. We don't use a red circle for end signs, and end of a speed zone is to try to say this goes back to a default and the like. So this is all a bit weird. I mean, it should, if you do it, be end with a black circle like it is now, but it's really not needed for when you're going to get to the end of a road, you're going to turn and the like. So that one's not particular. I didn't see that as a particular road safety issue. I pointed it out, but I didn't, risk grade it highly. These sorts of ones I do risk rate higher. So this is where a regulatory speed zone is put on just before a location where give way would need to occur or non-priority. So the reason for this is a speed sign gives a driver a subtle clue that their road continues on, because that's how they are predominantly used across the network. And so you can sort of imagine if people didn't know the area, they're approaching here, maybe it's foggy or they're slightly intoxicated or whatever it is, and they see the sign and then they keep going, it's just going to enhance the chance they overshoot this intersection. So we don't want to see that sort of stuff that can confuse. I won't jump through that one. Barriers are an important one, and I don't want you to underestimate the technical requirements associated with road safety barriers across Australia and New Zealand. They can look simple, but there is a lot of technical requirements associated with them. So the two cautions I give you as a road safety auditor, or that, in my opinion, the two areas you are most likely to get involved in legal battles, and they might be questioning your audit or finding deficiencies or these sort of things, are roadworks traffic management and things associated with road safety barriers. The roadworks traffic management one is huge in terms of there's an incident at a work site. The contractor is getting work covers coming in or whatever it is. They will pull the road safety auditor in with them. That's how it seems to play out. And the barrier one is, incidents with barriers and proprietary products and the way they were put together, and then people pointing fingers and saying, well, your product's deficient, or you didn't install it right, or you didn't check it, and this is so because there's such a lot of specifics with it. So knowing the different types of end terminals, knowing the heights, knowing the different barrier systems, the offsets, the requirements. There's obvious stuff. We don't want end terminals like this, which can have people vaulting off them. We don't accept BCTAs and BCTBs anymore, the breakaway terminals like this. These are the kind of things that, as an auditor, you've got to be able to pick up and say, well, that's not accepted anymore. We know it's going to have we can do better in a safety sense, and maybe there's some spearing potential with that. And certainly fishtail ends and the like are not accepted. We see those a lot more in other countries, but I still see them out on mainly local government roads sometimes. Then there's fear of spearing through vehicles, like this photo where you can see it speared right through the vehicle. And that's why the end of the barrier is such a an area of a lot of interest. We want to avoid this sort of stuff. Random little question to give out one of our final prizes, I think probably even the final prize. You can see here that the audio tactile edge line in this country is scoured into the pavement, not the raised blobs that we would put in Australia and New Zealand. Well, yeah. So why do you think that might be, that they scour it in? I mean, there might be a few reasons, but there's one sort of predominant reason why they went down this approach. Anybody got any ideas? Yeah, so Alison's on. It's somewhat to do with maintenance. But there's a little bit more specific. This is, I'll give you a hint. This is in, I'm pretty sure this one's in Colorado, in the States. Something to do with the climate. Yes, ice and snow. And the final part of that, oh, no, that's not the slippery part. It's when you do have ice and snow, what do you need to do? Snow plow. Jason got it. Yes, so they can't have raised features if you're going to run the snow plow over it, because it rips it off. That's one of the reasons that they do it. And interestingly, like I'm always particular to call it an audio tactile edge line, not a rumble strip, because a rumble strip technically goes across the actual travel lane, but everybody calls these rumble strips anyway, so I've kind of given up that fight. But they will call it a mumble strip when it's dug in. There you go. And I said, well, hang on, how do you do RRPMs, raised reflective pavement masks? I was over there doing some stuff with their DOT. But how do you do RRPMs? And then they showed me the snowplow friendly RRPM. Anyway, there you go. Random little bit of trivia to end our course. Okay, let me just bring up the learning management system to show you how you're going to finish everything off, and then I'll take final questions. So the learning management system, and hopefully you're seeing that on the screen there. You have got, of course, all the resources in there. Have we got the research assignments in there now? Yes, okay. So we've got lots of different research assignments. If you're interested in the treatment, see what others did, you can have a look at that. We've got some reference documents in there for you to have a look at, which I'm sure some of you had a look at, part 6. And there's a safe system assessment framework, which can help you as well for some categorization into primary and supporting. Then you're going to have to make sure that you have completed each quiz. So if you haven't, if you're lagging on a few of them, you've got to go in and you've got to complete each of these quizzes. You've got to complete your research assignment, quizzes, and then for this final, you've got to complete your road safety audit, upload it. And then the final one here, which is today, is that you don't have any specific things to do. You've just got a copy of the slides. You've got that comparison table that I talked about. And then you'll see here that you won't be able to actually download your certificate until you do the very, very short course feedback form. So once you finish the feedback form, everything else is completed, and your certificate will appear. Now, then you can download it. And once that triggers, we will then send you a hard copy of that certificate, along with some prizes that you've won along the way. And also we'll be sending you an email covering off anything else that we needed to, any final notes on prizes or anything like that, or the like. So that'll sort of bring the course to a conclusion. Of course, you do have some time left on when things are due. I think here we've got another week on your audit. So hopefully you're starting to get into that. If you need an extension or the like, just email through. A couple of people have already got it in. Well done. But if you need an extension, I know it's a busy time of year and things like that, let us know. But I say it's only 3 findings, and hopefully you can knock it off pretty quickly. So I'll stop sharing there, and I'll just see if anybody's got any final questions or comments. No, looks like people are pretty happy. So I'll just, I suppose, take this opportunity to thank you for taking time out of your incredibly busy schedules to undertake this course. I firmly believe that we can do a lot better in terms of road safety, and we need people as committed as yourselves to be out there as champions for road safety, doing audits, encouraging people to do audits, calling out bad practice when we see it, and not just turning a blind eye to it, and with technical rigor and logical eyes, looking at designs and at projects. I think we can raise the bar in terms of the quality and get continuing safer outcomes. And I really am excited that you'll be out there getting into this. I am available to provide you any assistance or examples, or if you've got a particular road safety issue or topic, or you're doing a funny, tricky audit, feel free to shoot me an email. Just say, have you ever done anything like this, or do you know anybody who's got expertise in this, and I can possibly find somebody. I've been around doing this stuff for a long time and met lots of people, so I might be able to say, oh yeah, there's somebody in New South Wales who's done work on that, or yep, here's a report we did a while back, or talk to this person. So feel free to keep in contact. Of course, if you would like to post your certificate on social media and the like, please do. Feel free to do that. We're happy for you to do that, and feel free to tag in Safe System Solutions or myself, and we'll share it as well, and promote the fact that you have successfully completed the course. But you have to successfully complete the course first. So get that audit in and finish those quizzes. Of course, if you're having any trouble with that or any concerns, just reach out, and one of the team will organize a one-on-one catch up with you, a bit of coaching and a little bit of help, or just write a question through the email, and we'll get back to you on it. But thank you very much. You've been a wonderful group. I love the interactivity and the chat, and I got a lot of experienced and knowledgeable people in here, and I'm glad you'll be out there making the road safer. Thank you.